Hey, what's up guys, it's Renaldo here. So this video is going to focus on exactly what I predicted a couple of days ago would happen with South Africa mocking the United States, and specifically with regards to the G20, how South Africa handled the United States not attending the G20, and also when the handover ceremony happened, how South Africa was arrogant and cocky with regards to that. So ultimately now the chickens have come home to roost, and the US Secretary of State Marco Rubio has come out with a damning statement on social media and also on his Substack. Before we get into that though, please be sure to subscribe to this channel. The overwhelming majority of you that watch my content regularly aren't subscribed, but you can fix that by just clicking the subscribe button below, and it'll cost you nothing. It's absolutely free. Alright, so let's have a look at what Secretary of State of the United States Marco Rubio had to say. Alright, so you can see it's from the US State Department. It says America welcomes a new G20. It's from the State Department, December 3rd, 2025, and the author is US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and he has the following to say. Next year, the United States will host the world's 20 largest economies for the first time since 2009. It's pretty much saying that it hasn't been the 20 largest economies since 16 years ago. Coinciding with America's 250th anniversary, the 26th G20 will be a chance to recognize the values of innovation, entrepreneurship, and perseverance that made America great and which provide a roadmap for prosperity for the entire world. We'll showcase these values and more when we host the G20 Leaders Summit in December 26 in one of America's greatest cities, Miami, Florida. Under President Trump's leadership, the G20 will use 4 working groups to achieve progress on 3 key themes: removing regulatory burdens, unlocking affordable and secure energy supply chains, and pioneering new technologies and innovation. The first Sherpa and Finance Track meetings will be held in Washington, D.C. on December 15 to 16, followed by a series of meetings throughout the 2026 as the global economy confronts the changes driven by technology such as artificial intelligence and shakes off ideological preoccupations around green energy. The president is prepared to lead the way, meaning they want to get rid of green energy and the global warming thing that they pretty much say is a conspiracy theory. We will be inviting friends, neighbors, and partners to the American G20. We will welcome the world's largest economies as well as burgeoning partners and allies to America's table. In particular, Poland, a nation that was once trapped behind the Iron Curtain but now ranks among the world's 20 largest economies, will be joining us to assume its rightful place in the G20. Poland's success is proof that a focus on the future is better path than one on grievances. It shows how partnership with the United States and American companies can promote mutual prosperity and growth. And the contrast with South Africa, host of this year's G20, is stark. And here we go. South Africa entered the post-Cold War era with strong institutions, excellent infrastructure, and global goodwill. It possessed many of the world's most valuable resources, some of the best agricultural land on the planet, and was located around one of the world's key trading routes. And in Nelson Mandela, South Africa had a leader who understood that reconciliation and private sector-driven economic growth were the only path to a nation where every citizen could prosper. Sadly, Mandela's successors have replaced reconciliation with redistributionist policies that discouraged investment and drove South Africa's most talented citizens abroad. Racial quotas have crippled the private sector while corruption bankrupts the state. The numbers speak for themselves, as South Africa's economy has stagnated under its burdensome regulatory regime driven by racial grievance, and it falls firmly outside the group of the 20 largest industrialized economies. Rather than take responsibility for its failings, the radical ANC-led South African government has sought to scapegoat its own citizens and the United States. As President Trump has rightfully highlighted, the South African government's appetite for racism and tolerance for violence against its Afrikaner citizens have become embedded as core domestic policies. It seems intent on enriching itself while the country's economy limps along, all while South Africans are subject to violence, discrimination, and land confiscation without compensation. Its former ambassador to the United States was openly hostile to America. Its relationship with Iran, its entertainment of Hamas sympathizers, and cozying to America's greatest adversaries move it from the family of nations we once called close. The politics of grievance carried over to South Africa's presidency of the G20 this month, which was an exercise in spite, division, and radical agendas that have nothing to do with economic growth. South Africa focused on climate change, diversity and inclusion, and aid dependency as central tenets of its working groups. It routinely ignored US objections to consensus communiques and statements. It blocked the US and other countries' inputs into negotiations. It actively ignored our reasonable faith efforts to negotiate. It doxed US officials working on these negotiations. It fundamentally tarnished the G20's reputation. For these reasons, President Trump and the United States will not be extending an invitation to the South African government to participate in the G20 during our presidency. There is a place for good faith disagreement, but not dishonesty or sabotage. The United States supports the people of South Africa, but not its radical ANC-led government, and will not tolerate its continued behavior. When South Africa decides it has made the tough decision needed to fix its broken system and is ready to rejoin the family of prosperous and free nations, the United States will have a seat for it at our table. Until then, America will be forging ahead with the new G20. So, to mainstream media that consistently said that the United States is getting the information from Twitter or X users or Elon Musk or AfriForum or Solidariteit, what do you have to say now? Because Marco Rubio has laid out every single thing as to why the United States has a problem with South Africa. And not once was white genocide mentioned, because that is the main thing that mainstream media consistently focuses on when they attack the United States and Donald Trump, and saying that they are spreading lies and misinformation. Please, in that Substack, point to me what he said that is not correct, because this is what many of us warned the government about and warned mainstream media about. We all remember how the social media users celebrated when South Africa rejected to hand it over to the United States in the way that they wanted it to, and all these like small little victories that South Africa wanted to claim. And ultimately, when people like myself, Chris Wyatt, Rob Hersoff, other people from Truth Report warned the government and also mainstream media to now not celebrate in this way, because you are poking the superpower of this world. You know, we must not imagine that we are on equal footing with the United States. Our economy is 73 times smaller than that of the United States. In actual fact, South Africa's entire economy can fit into one of the states of the United States. That is how insignificant we truly are to the United States. Now, I'm not saying that we should go out and change our morals, change everything about ourselves to adhere to the United States demands, but what they are asking for is not unreasonable. Stop cozying up to China and Russia and then still expect us to do business with you. Stop these 145 race-based laws that you have. Stop cozying up to terrorist organizations like Hamas and Hezbollah and the country Iran. You know, these are all the basic things that Western culture and Western values and principles believe in. And yet, South Africa wants to play this moral high game when it doesn't have the moral high road. And that is what's frustrating, is that mainstream media know that South Africa is in the wrong, but yet they will still criticize the United States, belittle and attack Donald Trump, instead of focusing on the broader picture. Because yes, I know that Donald Trump said that there's a white genocide, and we know there is no white genocide yet. And like I said before, if you look at Gregory Stanton's 10 stages of genocide, we are on stage 8 out of 10. So there's a real reason to say, hey, we are potentially facing a white genocide in this country. If you look at the race-based laws, if you look at politicians in parliament, in senior positions, singing songs about killing people, you know, kill the boer, kill the farmer. Another member of parliament saying we're not calling for the slaughtering of white people, at least for now. We get another member of parliament that is saying, we'll kill the dogs, we'll kill the cats, we'll kill the women, we'll kill the children. These are members of parliament. These aren't average people on the street that has no credibility These are people of influence because the entire EFF in Parliament all sing kill the boer, kill the farmer. So it's not one or two politicians, it is a lot that is singing these songs. So you can understand why when you look in America, they don't sing these songs, even though they've got absolute freedom of speech. They don't sing this song because, they'll find out very soon. But in South Africa, it is acceptable. And ultimately, this is what happens. So just being excluded out of the G20 and then stating the reasons why, I think it is still very light for South Africa, because I think there are going to be sanctions that's going to hit ANC and EFF and MK individuals in the near future. And then you are going to see how quickly South Africa changes its tune, because these ANC officials now won't be able to use American banks, won't be able to use a SWIFT system. So all South African banks uses a SWIFT system, and there'll be a lot of other sanctions placed on them economically, financially, physically, like not being able to travel to the United States or countries that the United States will ask to reject their visas. So in conclusion, this is what Cyril Ramaphosa knew what was going to happen, but still proceeded. The ANC knew this was going to happen. Mainstream media knew this was going to happen. Mainstream media mocked Donald Trump, saying that he's not going to invite South Africa to the G20. But like I said in my video yesterday, you could clearly see that, there is going to be a pattern to this, where the United States is going to put pressure on other nations to say, hey, do you agree with these things that South Africa is doing? And like I said yesterday, at the end of the day, right before the G20 in Miami next year, you are going to find that most countries are going to attend because the United States is a world superpower, but also they agree that the things that are happening in South Africa isn't right. And then South Africa will face the full might of the world condemning it because of the policies that are taking place in South Africa right now. So, mainstream media wants to drive a narrative. People that hate Trump will click on the links. The government thought that they are bigger than what they really are, and they are going to find out. So ultimately, this is just the first step. So where are the jokes now about South Africa being excluded of the G20? And do you still think that countries will come to the aid of South Africa and say, hey, we know that they met with Iran. We know that they side with Hezbollah and with Hamas. We know that there's 145 race-based laws in this country. We know that there's 63 murders a day. We know that all the infrastructure is collapsing. We know that service delivery is non-existent, but we will still side with South Africa. Do you really think that will take place? Because if you do, I've got a beachfront property in Bloemfontein to sell you. And that's pretty much all I got to say. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share this video far and wide, and also let me know what you have to say. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. And lastly, if you support my channel and you support the content, then please consider becoming a member. You can do so by clicking the join button below, and that will cost you 39.99 Rand a month. And that's all I got to say. Till later, cheers and peace out.
You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say I went my massacre. You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say I went my massacre. My massacre. You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say I went my massacre. My massacre.